This is the GoGuide podcast. I'm not sure what episode we are on here right now, but we're here with David Cowden. He's the owner of the Gunnison River Fly Shop down in Gunnison, Colorado. My opinion, one of the most beautiful parts of Colorado, incredible fishing. And David has been a huge part of kind of helping us build the GoGuide system, one of our early partners, and somebody that we value our partnership with a lot. So, David, thank you for joining. I'm excited to get to know you a little bit more as a businessman and a fly fisherman.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I like to start it kind of where I start with all the podcasts is can I hear a little bit more about your journey through the fly fishing industry? Where did you learn to fly fish first? How'd you get into the sport? And how do you find yourself now today owning a fly shop?
Yeah, it's been a wild ride. I'm a Colorado native, and I grew up primarily fishing with my family on the Poudre River in northern Colorado, and then we spent quite a bit of time on the Colorado River, and then we spent time over here in the Gunnison Valley as well, which is how I know about it. Um, but I grew up in the Front Range and pretty much traveled all over the state, fishing as soon as I was able to drive, and yeah, so I taught myself to fly fish when I was 14. I grew up with a spinning rod in my hand, slinging worms and salmon eggs was when I was a little kid, and I finally started reading the fly fishing magazines and started picking up a fly rod that my grandfather had, and then I slowly started tying flies, and pretty soon I was catching fish on flies that I tied, and I was still 15, 16 years old at that time, so I've been hooked ever since.
Hmm.
Um, and then that's taken me to saltwater trips and doing some saltwater fly fishing and that. Um, as far as the fly shop goes in the fly industry, that's where I'm really a newbie. I bought this shop 3 seasons ago. It kind of fell into my lap. My wife and I were over here on a trip to Gunnison and got word that the shop might be for sale. We located the owners and put a deal together, and about a week later, I think we owned a fly shop.
Wow. Quick
So
turnaround.
that led to my retirement, and then I'm over here seasonally now. We're trying to change that, but we've been running like mid-April to mid to end of October, and so yeah, I get to spend the summers over here, and then I go back to the Front Range in the wintertime, and I don't have to endure these brutal winters over here, which locals turn their nose up at me for, but I
Yeah,
like the lifestyle.
gotcha. And so, what really
Yeah.
pulled you to the Gunnison area?
Well, like I said, I've been fishing over here off and on my entire life, and my wife and I got married over here. We spend a lot of time vacationing over here with the RV, and we were just over here on one of those trips over our anniversary um, in September. Over here to see the colors and fish for some spawning browns and have a good time, and it was really just a good time for me to retire and buy the shop, and then still be able to get back to the Front Range in 3.5 hours. There's no more beautiful place to settle down than this. So yeah,
Absolutely.
it's pretty awesome over here.
Yeah, absolutely. And so the guides that you have on staff, were they working with the shop before? Have you built that guide service kind of from the ground up? What's that looked like?
Kind of a mixture of both. Um, there were some guides that had been affiliated with the fly shop before I bought it. But then I've got a bunch of guys that came down from another resort in the valley. Um, and we've got a real solid staff together right now. I've got one of my part-time guys has over 38,000 river miles.
Wow.
And most of my guys have, in the 5 to 10,000 river mile range. There's a lot of experience on our books, so pretty
That's
thankful for that.
absolutely. Yeah, good guides
Yeah,
are such an important part. That's definitely something to value for sure.
yeah, yes, it is.
So tell me a little bit about Gunnison River Fly Shop's trips. What do you guys offer? And kind of break it down for me based on like the different types of trips.
Yeah, so we do our walkway trips and our float trips. Our walkway trips can be anywhere from the Gunnison and the Taylor, the east to some of our smaller creeks and high mountain lakes. We also do some private water trips. We do private trips over to the Bar ZX Ranch, which is a bunch of ponds stocked full of just slabs. Right now we can't get there because roads have washed out,
Mm.
so that's kind of off the plate right now. And then our float trips, we can do the Taylor, although we walk wade it most of the time. I think it's a better walk wade trip. There's so much pocket water to work and so many rocks that you can just really pick it apart and catch a lot of fish. And then the Gunnison, I mean, there's just a bunch of public water on this upper section between Almont and Blue Mesa. And people, they really get a good experience floating it. But we can also take them out to some areas that, they can walk wade until their legs are ready to fall off because there's just so much area to fish.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's it for the most part. We're in a position to start doing some overnight llama pack trips to some of the high mountain lakes. Um, yeah, so that's in the works. That's going to be fun. One of my guides he's also an elk guide, and he's got access to the animals. So that's something we're really looking forward to.
Wow. Yeah, that sounds super exciting. Excited to see that and hopefully
Yeah,
maybe get to experience it as well. That'd be awesome.
yeah, yeah.
What would you say sets your shop and your guides apart from guides within the fly fishing industry? What can people expect when they book a trip and fish with one of your guides?
Yeah, well, I mean, the biggest thing that we've got going for us, and maybe I shouldn't even say this, is we're the only standalone fly shop in Gunnison.
Hmm.
There is a sporting goods store here that, they have some good flies and some good equipment and everything, but they don't have I guess, the knowledge or the customer service in the fly industry that we do. Really, our closest competitor is about 10 miles away, and they're in a resort. They've got their own thing going. But when people hit Gunnison and Google fly shops, we're who pops up. Um, and I'd have to say when I bought this shop, obviously I've been in and out of fly shops all over Colorado and North America for that matter. And customer service was a huge thing to me when we bought this shop, making sure that people don't feel intimidated
Hmm.
when they come into our shop, that women can come in here and not feel intimidated. And I hear that from so many people in the industry. I'm good friends with a couple of the ladies that own companies in the industry, and I hear that from a lot of them. So, we do our best to make everybody feel comfortable. We don't want to make anybody feel stupid. We don't want to make people feel like it's rocket science. It's not. It's fishing.
Hmm.
And so I think that's probably one of the things that really makes us stand out when people come over here is, they're going to get well taken care of in the shop. If they're on the river with one of our guides, it's going to be a learning experience no matter what your level is, because our guys have a lot of experience. And, you know, we, we've all got, the guys have all got the macho attitude, but you can still learn something. And I really think that that's important. You know, have fun, learn something, and like I said, it's just fishing. So
Yeah. Absolutely. I think that that comfort aspect is so important for this industry, especially as people get into it as a new thing. There's a lot of people, I know for
right,
myself, I went to CU Boulder. I had been into fly fishing my whole life. So for me, I felt super comfortable walking into my first fly shop around the area and just chatting it up. But for people that had never done it before who were going to CU Boulder, I know a big reason that they didn't go and walk in the shop, even though they were interested, was because they felt like they would look dumb, like they'd never done it before. So I think
right.
that's super important.
Yep, I've been into several fly shops, metro fly shops, other fly shops around Colorado that you just don't feel welcome. There's not a good greeting, um, and then questions almost seem like a burden.
Hmm.
So, anyway, but we strive to make people comfortable and ask whatever questions they want. We help them rig up their rods in the shop. It's we don't care. We
Hmm.
want people to have fun and catch fish. So that's what it's all about.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, fly shops at the end of the day are such an important part of the industry because they're part of that community. They're the place where people go to talk and learn and understand what's going on in the area. And I think you guys are
Yeah,
embodying that perfectly. So that's awesome.
we're trying. So thank you.
Absolutely. Um, Well, what would you say in your area for you? What's your favorite place to go fishing in the Gunnison area? So, what would you
Oh
like to go
man,
do today if you could?
you're gonna make me give my favorite hole up, huh?
We won't spot burn, but
No, you know what? We're one of those shops. I mean, some of the locals might not like it, but and I don't consider myself a local since I don't live here full time. But I really enjoy fishing some of the smaller creeks when they're fishable. Right now, they really aren't. Um, but running up Beaver Creek or going over to the Lake Fork of the Gunnison, places like that are just a lot of fun. And some of them you can hike into a little bit and not feel the pressure of other anglers around. Um, so I really kind of like focusing on some of those smaller creeks.
hmm. Awesome. Yeah, I'm a big fan as well. One of
Yeah.
my favorite places is going up to like Indian Peaks Wilderness up on the Front Range. For me, like that's kind of my special place as far as like there's so much water, there's so much to adventure, there's so many little tiny creeks and
Yeah.
streams. And maybe you're not catching huge fish, but you're catching a lot of beautiful fish, which is incredible.
Right. Right.
Um,
Yep. Agreed.
So, as somebody who really entered the fly shop business without kind of the prior knowledge or like the prior working within a fly shop, I guess, what were some of the learning curves for you that were really prominent and things that you felt like you learned along the way that you'd want to kind of tell somebody before they either started an outfit or started a fly shop?
Wow. How long is this podcast? um, yeah, there's a lot of things. I don't come from a business background. I had worked some retail in the past. Um, but, the core business stuff, um, I don't pay a bookkeeper or an accountant. And so a lot of that, there was a huge learning curve. Um, you know, kudos to you if you fly fish and have a business background because you'll be one step ahead of where I was at. Um, the other big thing was ordering. Doing preseason orders just kind of blew me away.
Hmm.
Um, the first season I did okay. The second season I really overdid it. Um, so this season I'm trying to undo it because I had a lot of stuff from last year. Um, yeah, it really makes me want to hire somebody to do the ordering. But and just planning that far out. I mean, I had a preseason order that's due tomorrow for next year for one of the companies, and to think that far ahead just blows me away.
Hmm.
Um, because I'm so immersed in our season hasn't even started yet here really,
Yeah.
and so yeah, I mean just learning orders and then all the accounting and all that, huge learning curve for me, but so far the water's just up to about here. So,
Still breathing.
yeah, still breathing.
What about on the guide service things, managing guides, and kind of being in a leadership position, really, where you are kind of the head of the whole thing? How have you worked around making sure that your guides are doing that customer service and giving the best experience to the clients?
Yeah, so I mean, most everybody that I've got came with some kind of a reference. Um, and whether they did or they didn't, I shoot an email to all of my customers, um, asking about their trip. I have a link on my email to our Google account so they can leave a Google review. Um, and people call the shop too, or they come back into the shop after their trip. And we always hope to exceed their expectations,
Hmm.
and usually we're able to do that. They most
Awesome.
people are realistic. They understand it's fishing, and they might go to a new creek and catch 5 or 6 fish in a day and be super happy. But when one of my guides takes them out and they wind up with a 30 fish day, which we just had one client do that, they're just blown away. And that just speaks to our guides' experience because they can put people on these fish and understanding that you may or may not catch them, but they're at least going to give you a good opportunity. So, but yeah, we like to follow up with an email and a thank you and our Google link so they can do their review.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, it really sounds like you guys embody what it means to really focus on the customer service aspect side of things, which so important within this industry. Definitely.
Oh yeah. Well, and not having, a huge retail background, I mean, it's a pretty simple concept to understand, that if you're not nice to people, they're not going to spend money in your store.
Mm.
So, if you treat them with respect and maybe go that little extra effort and show them how to tie that certain knot or whatever, they're going to appreciate that, and they're going to come back, and they might go to your online website or refer a friend. It's a big circle, so you got to be nice to people.
Definitely. That's a life standard in general, that's for sure. Um,
Right, exactly.
what would you say makes a good guide? And what do you see within your guides that you feel like really sets them apart as far as guides in the area? I know you already said experience, but I'd love to touch on that a little
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah, I mean, they just have to be personable, they have to be able to talk to people. Everybody pushes that button or hits that nerve, and you might want to snap at them a little bit because you've said set 500 times and maybe they did it right once, or whatever. So just being personable and, willing to take that extra step when, the client's like, well, why are we using this bug? Or what knot are you tying that fly on with? They're asking you to learn. So, the guys that take that extra step and teach them, then, that's great. And, that helps them because, they usually get a better tip and then they come back, their clients come back. Um, which is, one of the awesome features of GoGuide that we can talk about whenever you want to.
We'll touch on the Go Guide stuff at the end, but I appreciate that a lot.
Yeah.
Um, I would love to hear. So, like, if I was somebody who was thinking about going to go book a trip with you guys and to get out on the water in the Gunnison Valley, and I was on the fence. What would you tell me to express how really incredible the fishing is in the area? And what would you touch on that really kind of sets it apart from other parts of the U.S. Fishing wise?
Well, I mean, the biggest thing for this valley is all the healthy water that we have over here. You don't have gold medal waters with unhealthy, with unhealthy trout, or an unhealthy bug population. Plus the versatility that's over here. I mean, you can go from, fishing an awesome gold medal tailwater to, hitting the freestone or, running over to one of the lakes, big lakes, Blue Mesa or Taylor Reservoir, or, hiking up to a smaller lake, fishing some of the feeder creeks. I mean, it's just so versatile over here, and everything about it is so healthy. I mean, we probably have one of the most active TU organizations that I've ever been a part of. And, they really take a look at what's impacting our water. And, they work closely with our fisheries biologist, Dan Brow, and, to fix problems. There's always a solution. So I really think the huge draw over here is the fact that we're so versatile, and our waters are just so healthy.
Absolutely. You touched a little bit there on kind of the Trout Unlimited, the conservation side of the valley. What is something that you guys as a team, as guides, do to make sure that conservation is kind of in mind when you're fishing with clients? Do you guys have any practices that kind of keep conservation in mind?
Yeah, absolutely. So our guides, they all do a little safety briefing with our clients, whether they're doing a walkway trip and, it's just a slick river or a float trip. But best practices are also part of that conversation. So, our guides try and set the example. They pick up trash that, if they're on a float and they can get to something to pick it up, they'll pick it up. Our walkway guides are the same way. We encourage the use of monofilament drops, which, are positioned throughout the different rivers in the valley. And just, being a good steward of the land. Even if somebody else isn't, it's really irritating to see, the trash somebody left behind, but, then you can feel good about doing something about it. So, and we do, the TU organization here does river cleanups. They do a float and focus on the different boat ramps. So it's a very active organization up here.
Very cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've always thought guides in general have such a cool position in the fact that they get to be the teachers of the industry. They get to have a connection with so many different clients over the year and have this really turnkey ability to be able to teach them the right way, teach them with conservation in mind. And I think that has a really cool, just positive effect on the industry, which I think is super
Yep,
important.
yep, I agree. Well, and I think clients appreciate it too, whether they're already of that mindset and they just see that our outfit is also of that mindset, or maybe they haven't thought about it, or they're, new to doing things in the outdoors. And then they get to hear about, well, this is why it's so clean, and so nice because, people take care of it.
Mhm.
So.
I'm interested to hear more about the monofilament drops. So, is that something that is kind of placed strategically throughout the valley? And who set that up? Is that the TU organization?
Yeah, it's through TU, and they just set up these PVC monofilament drops. People love to throw trash in them, but whatever. At least it's not on the ground. Um, but yeah, people take a leader off, and hopefully, if they see the drop, then they'll put it in there, or stick it in their pack and take it home or whatever.
Hmm.
But yeah, that's something new. I think they've been up for a couple of years now, so
Very cool.
pretty cool program.
Awesome. And
Yeah.
you were telling me a little bit about the history of the gold medal water. Something that's new in the area is this gold medal status. How'd that come to be, and what's kind of the history there?
Yeah, so I mean, Parks and Wildlife regulates that. Obviously, they shock the rivers up here. Um, for a water to be considered gold medal, there has to be 60 pounds of fish per acre, water acre, and at least a dozen of those fish uh, per acre have to be over 14 inches. So I had the counts on ours. It actually blew that away. And I looked last minute and tried to find them, and I can't find them. But we had one of our Trout Unlimited meetings in here with Dan Brow, the wildlife biologist, the fisheries biologist, and he gave us those numbers, and they were really astounding. Um, so the Taylor River, the entire Taylor River, 24 miles of it, I think, from Taylor Park Reservoir down to Almont, is gold medal water. One of our guides actually just pulled a 26-inch brown out of there on a streamer about 2 weeks ago, floating it.
Awesome.
Um, on the lower section, so he wasn't up by the dam, by the catch and release where all the big fish are, because that river's got big fish all throughout it. But then the Gunnison is gold medal now from the confluence of the east and the Taylor at Almont down to what we call the town bridge, which is where Highway 50 goes over the Gunnison here in town. So, and I really don't know why it's not gold medal below that, because I mean there are just a ton of fish down there, and there's a lot of big fish. So I don't know, maybe that'll change, but yeah, they're awesome fisheries. They're healthy. The fish are strong. Um, so very fortunate.
Very, very cool. And I know something in Colorado that I've got to experience. Maybe not everybody who isn't familiar with Colorado hasn't maybe even heard of this, but the Kokanee Salmon Run is something that's pretty cool in the Colorado area. Is that something that you guys are fishing? What part of the year is that? And if somebody's interested in taking that trip, how would that look?
Yeah. Yeah. So it can be hit or miss depending on the water levels in Blue Mesa Reservoir. So last season, the run is in October-ish, kind of depending on weather and water. Um, Last season, we didn't expect it to be very good, but I actually heard pretty decent reports from people when the Kokanee were running up the Gunnison, and then they take a left at Almont and go up the east and back to the hatchery where they milk them again. And then every spring in April, they release 3 point something million kokanee fry at night into the east, just to give those little guys a chance to, run down to the Gunnison and then make it down to Blue Mesa
Hmm.
before they all get eaten up. But yeah, so we're looking at October usually. Catch and release. There are some exceptions to that. And then after December 1st, they allow snagging. Um, Obviously, the ones that make it back to the hatchery, they spawn them, and then they're going to die anyway. So you can go up there, and usually then it's just locals in the area, but you can go up there and they'll give you bags of salmon
Hmm.
um, to take home, so it doesn't go to waste.
Yep.
But but we do get requests for that specifically to guide it. Um, It's really a great time of year to just come fish because all the big browns and rainbows are behind all those salmon. And there's been some huge browns come out of the Gunnison that time of year.
Hmm.
So anyhow, it's another good feature of the area, and people really enjoy it, and people come here specifically to do it.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. What's one of the bigger browns that you've seen come out of that time of year?
Well, I'd show you the picture on my phone, but it probably wouldn't come up very good. Um, it was I want to say this thing was about 22 pounds, and this was last year just below Almont Resort on the Gunnison. And it was a catch and release fish by a local here. Um, and it was just a monster.
I bet. Yeah.
If you remind me, I'll send you that picture. It's an incredible fish.
That's awesome. Yeah, there's some world class fish out in that area. Absolutely.
Yeah,
I've heard
yeah,
some crazy fish come out of that Taylor Park Reservoir area
yeah,
below the dam. Yeah, there. I mean, all throughout though the Gunnison, great fish.
yeah. There's some big pike in Taylor Park Reservoir too.
Hmm. Yeah, I've also heard some reports of some massive lake trout out of the Blue Mesa area recently. Do you guys ever
Yeah,
guide in that area?
we do. We will do a walkway trip, and I also have one guide who has a boat and will guide on Blue Mesa. So, yeah, the world record unofficially was caught out of there opening day this year. A local guy, a friend of mine, um, and the IGFA, they require you to measure the fish on land, and it has to be killed technically so it can be counted. But not this guy. he he released it. He measured it in his boat on video. Um, the it was either Parks and Wildlife or the guys from the Kokanee National Recreation Area certified his scales. Um, So he's kind of talking with IGFA people about, maybe we should look at how things are done to count a fish of that caliber without killing it.
Hmm.
Um, that's probably a 60-year-old fish, is what they're saying. So one of the original fish that was put in that reservoir,
Wow.
and there are bigger ones in there. They've seen them, so I wouldn't be surprised. But yeah, it's a heck of a fishery. There's some really big browns in there, some nice rainbows, perch. It's a really good fishery.
Yeah.
I'll
Yeah, I've
actually
heard.
be on it tomorrow. We're going to take the boat and go hit a couple of the feeder creeks and fish them.
Very, very cool. Yeah, I was talking to my buddy Cam, who is around the area during the summer. I get actually during
Yeah,
the
I know, Cam.
yeah, great kid. We were just in Baja. He was down at Los Locos. I don't know. I was getting to fish with him a
Oh
little
yeah,
bit. Um,
nice.
he was telling me that that fish that they caught, they had said they caught, I think, a year prior, and it was actually like 10 or 20 pounds lighter. And it had
Oh, is
grown
that right?
a year. Yeah.
I hadn't heard that. Nice.
Yeah. He was saying that that fish had grown like 10 or 20 pounds in a year, which is pretty insane.
Yeah,
Don't quote
that
me on it.
thing, it had to be full of perch or kokanee fry or something. But thing was huge.
Yeah, that was a cool fish to see. In
Yeah,
general, I mean, that whole area just is chock full of incredible fish, incredible fishing, incredible hunting, and incredible place to be around, I would say. I love
yeah,
it.
it really is. Yeah, it's pretty amazing over here.
Hmm. Um, for those people that are gear junkies and looking to stop by a shop in order to pick up some gear, what do you guys carry? What's kind of the retail side of the business?
Yeah, so we've got the largest fly tying selection in the valley. Um, Gear wise, we're big on fish pond, we're big on Patagonia, we're big on corkers. Corkers works out real well up here, especially the aluminum versions of the soles. Either the bars or the hex or the carbide tips because the Taylor River, super slick. You have to have something like that. Felt will work, but it still gets slimy and slides around. Rod wise, we're from, Hardy, Douglas, Echo. I was the first one to bring moonshine into the valley. I had used their Euro rods in the past, and I'm a big Euro guy. I'm no pro, but man, it's a great way to catch a lot of fish.
Yeah.
So I talked to them, and they're not in a lot of retailers, but it's done really well out here. So, and then our big Euro line is probably Syndicate. They're just a professional outfit. Um, I love their 11-foot 2-weight Reaver. It's an amazing rod. A
Hmm.
6-inch fish will bend that thing in half. But on a side note, with that 11-foot 2-weight rod, that 22-pound whatever it was brown that my buddy caught was on that same rod.
Whoa.
Um, yeah, so they're just backbone. They're a backbone rod with a real forgiving tip, and a big fish on 6X is, totally possible. So, um, and all the standard stuff. I mean, that everybody else carries, I guess. We're pretty big into Scientific Anglers line. I'm a huge fan of SA. Um, Cortland, I'm really digging their new Euro line, their camo. Um, I've always built my Euro leaders with Maxima, and the Cortland stuff has a little less stretch, but it seems to stay stretched out. It doesn't get curly on you when you're using it. So that's something I've been pretty stoked about. Um, a lot less tangles on the end of my pole around the tip.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah,
Gotcha. Awesome.
that's about it.
So,
I mean, reels. Ross is our big one here. Montrose is just down the road. But we also do Galvin, another great USA made reel. We have Abel's, then Hatch, and then we also have a pretty good Hardy following here too. So
gotcha. Wow.
yeah,
But it sounds like the main attraction to the shop would be for some of the people that are looking to tie some flies. Largest selection in the valley is super important for those
yeah,
looking for that.
yeah, yeah. It took a lot of effort and it took a lot of money, but yeah, it's quite a wall. I'm looking at it right now. It's huge.
That's
I'm
awesome.
not sure I've got as much as Charlie's up in Arvada, but that guy just has an incredible amount of fly tying material.
Yeah,
So I might be a close second. I'm not sure.
that's awesome. So a fly tying
Yeah,
method, that's good to hear.
yeah, yeah.
Very cool. As far as the fly tying goes, are you yourself a fly tyer? Something that you're pretty interested in?
Yeah, I just tie for myself,
Hmm.
especially running the business and everything right now. I don't have a whole lot of spare time.
Hmm.
So, um, yeah, if I'm going to do like one of the competitions around here or something and I want a particular fly, um, that I could even get out of one of my boxes, but maybe I want it to be heavier or, something I'll tie it up myself. But yeah, for the most part, I don't tie a whole lot anymore.
Yeah, me neither, honestly. As
Yeah.
far as apart from kind of the shop yourself, where is fly fishing taking you? Do you have any destinations that you've loved to be at? Do you have any species that you love to target? Anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, outside of freshwater, they started doing saltwater a few years ago. We hosted a couple trips to Belize. We've taken groups of 10 anglers down there. We used Will Flax guides, put them up in some really nice villas. Those were fantastic trips. Those were great beginner trips. His guides just knocked it out of the park. I had guys down there that had never held a fly rod that, maybe were going with a relative and just wanted to try it out. And everybody caught fish, everybody had a good time. So, I was really stoked about that. And then we've actually got a trip booked for November in 24 to Cuba.
Wow.
We've got 10 people on board for that one already. That one booked up fast. And we're going to use Avalon down there. So that's going to be a blast. One of my guides is a dual citizen in New Zealand. We've got hosted trips on paper for that place right now. We're looking at probably next January, I think is what he was saying. So he'll probably be down there. I doubt I'll be able to make that. I think I'm going to be back in Belize again. So, yeah, man, we're kind of branching out. I mean, it's fun. I'd love to find a good spot in Mexico to take people. I know they're down there. When we fish in Belize, we go pretty far north of Ambergris Key, and we're pretty close to Mexico anyway. So but
I was
yeah, it's a lot of fun.
I was just down there. Went down to the X Flats.
Yeah.
Jesse was a Colorado native. Right there on the border of Mexico and Belize. Incredible spot. They have such a cool program. I mean, I loved every second there.
That's awesome. Also, my wife and I went to Costa Rica
Hmm.
last March, and I guess into February, into March, and we floated a river there that I can't think of the name of right off the top of my head for machaca, and those things are like a big toothy, like human teeth looking things. Um, that eat this fruit that falls out of trees. And I got some really good video of that. Some of the strikes were pretty incredible. So, but we caught a bunch of fish. That was a fun trip. So
Wow.
we
Super
did
cool.
that with the guides from Fly Fish Costa Rica.
Hmm.
So
Very cool.
yeah, good times.
Well, it sounds like you guys have a pretty cool travel program as well. So definitely hope people are looking into that, getting to experience some new stuff. There's so many places that
Yeah,
fly
we're
fishing
getting
can
there.
take you.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yep. It's a lot of fun.
Hmm. Well, cool. As far as the podcast goes, I think we've covered just about everything that I wanted to cover. Is there anything else that you'd like to touch on about the shop, about the guide service, or anything else?
I just we haven't really talked about GoGuide. I mean,
We can
I
talk.
had
We can talk.
tried. Yeah, let's talk about GoGuide. Um, so I had tried another service, which will remain nameless, and I know we had that conversation before you came to me, and I think you know how skeptical I was. Till I came over to your booth and sat down, you went through the program with me, and I thought, this actually looks like it could be, halfway decent and simpler than what I was looking at. Because the other program, my guides were like, we don't even know what to do with this. And I was the same way. Um, So, man, I've got to say, I think you guys have knocked it out of the park. I'm not a techie guy at all, but it's super easy to navigate. Um, it's super easy for my clients to book. Um, I think we're I think we're already over 40 trips for the season so far, that people have booked either online or called the shop. So yeah, it's been great. Alex, I can't say enough kind things about her. I mean, she's dealt with all my guys, and um, I watched one of your other podcasts, and oh, I forget who it was, but he was talking about, you guys really listen when we come to you and say, hey, what about this or what about that? And then it almost seems like it's done. It's like if we have a decent idea, you guys really run with it. And, like for us, we teach classes, and being able to just have one day in a calendar where people can go sign up for that class, it's huge.
Hmm.
People like ease; they like to book online. It's easier for them to book online than to even call the shop and talk to me on the phone. Because by the time I get logged in and everything, they would probably be done
Hmm.
online. So, um, yeah, I mean it's been seamless. We haven't had any problems with it. Um, so yeah, congrats, man. There you go,
Well, I appreciate
guy.
you don't know how much that means for me to hear, for our team to hear, for everybody to hear, because it's been a long road. I mean, it's been a lot of work to make sure that we're building the right thing, and it's actually funny. It's really built by you guys. The
Right,
shops that we work with, the guides that we work with, they're the ones that are building the system, and I think that's been the secret sauce for us to be successful is listen to the people that know what they're doing because it's their livelihood. So um,
right.
we appreciate you guys more than you know. It's been fantastic working with you guys, working with our all of our other shops, and um, it's awesome to hear those kind words. It means the world to us.
Yeah, and I mean for anybody that is on the fence about it, um, I'm the ultimate skeptic, and I would just say you just need to go for it because it's going to be worth your while. And if you have good ideas, I mean, maybe not everybody's idea is going to get implemented, but there's a good chance that it will, from what I've seen. So, and I'll be talking to Alex about these hosted trips that we do, and a billing and payment system, something that it's going to make us both money, and that's really what it's all about in the end. Is we're trying to survive, we're trying to give people an experience of a lifetime, and make it nice and easy for them to make payments or do whatever, and so I see that in your future too.
Mhm. Yeah, we're actually working on building lodging right now and being able to cover all those hosted trips as well. So super excited to
Nice.
get that out to you guys.
That's awesome. Good to hear.
Would you
Looking
say your
forward to it.
guides like using the system?
Yeah, I mean, if you're not a lazy person, or you don't, or you have the time, um, if you don't have the time, it's something that you might have to refresh yourself on. But if you take the time to look at it, I mean, it's not hard to learn. And with a couple of cheat sheets that Alex has put out, um, it's real easy to refresh your memory. And yeah, so unless you're just lazy and don't mess around with it at all, then anything is tough, for the person that's like that. Um, so yeah, I mean, I haven't had any complaints from the guys. If they've got questions that I can't answer, they just shoot Alex an email. Um, and And she's amazingly fast to respond. Um, we all understand that people have to go on vacation once in a while. So I guess if she didn't get back to us right away, it'd be cool. But yeah, she's been doing amazing. So
Yeah, she's a gem. She like truly is like the backbone of our company.
yeah,
Incredible work. Always just cares about the guides, cares about making sure everybody's happy, and that's what it's all about. Like you said, customer
right.
service is always number one.
Well, she was asking me about float trips, so I hope she's going to make it out. And I jokingly told her, I said, you can book online, right?
There we go.
So anyway, yeah, I hope to see her and whoever she's coming out with, and yeah, it'll be a lot of fun. We'll make sure and take good care of her.
Yeah, we'll hopefully get some more people from the team out there as well. But
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
awesome. Well, I really appreciate the kind words. It means a lot. I'm glad that we're building a system that you feel like is really working for you. I hope it's saving you
Hmm.
guys time around the shop and making things easier. That's the main thing that we hope for.
Yeah, it's saving a lot of time. The ability to print that spreadsheet out with your trips is helpful too. I
Mhm.
keep my own spreadsheet, but I can print that out and then fill in the blanks of trips that I haven't added to my spreadsheet yet. Um, so yeah, that's also very helpful.
Gotcha. Super cool. Well, awesome. Yeah, I guess I'll kind of end the podcast there.
Very
Well,
cool.
David, appreciate your time today. I
Yeah,
really
man.
appreciate
Thank you.
you giving me some some thoughts on GoGuide and how kind you were about it. Because honestly, it's been a crazy road, and it means the world
Oh,
to
I'm
hear that
sure.
we're doing something that really you really value.
Yeah, I mean it has seriously been. I should have said they didn't pay me to say this because it really has been a joy to work with. I mean, um, yeah, I don't know. You guys just really hit it out of the park. So.
I appreciate that. Maybe